Hello guys, welcome to my session domain 1 chapter 2 personal security and risk management concept. So how to contribute to the personal security policy, let's talk about it. Humans are the weakest element in the security solution. Okay, no matter what physical or logical control are deployed, human can discover way to avoid them. So we are easily able to find loophole or bypass them. So let's talk about it. Separations of duty. The concept of having more than one person required to complete a task, it is also protection against collusion, which is the occurrence of negative activity undertaken by two or more people, often for the purpose of fraud or theft. So if one floor is there, some project is taking place and there are more than two people or more than that who are looking for everything. So it is easy for them to take something, steal something or put some loophole somewhere. So because he is not only responsible, and no matter, it is going to be tough for them to find who is the actual person behind it. So it happened basically when negative activity undertaken by two or more people, often for the purpose of fraud and theft. So he hates him, so he can put some flaws or he can steal some server or hard drive or anything to be there. So collision, when several people work together to perpetrate the crime, it is called collisions. Okay. So job responsibility, task an employee is required to perform on regular basis. So we need to be better to decide job responsibility for a person 1 or a person 2. Job rotation and cross training, it enable the existing personnel to fill the work gap when the proper employee is unable, as a type of emergency procedure. Job rotation, when one is not working, we can put somebody on his place, but we have to make sure that if somebody we put in his place, he should not do something else. So to record it, maintain it. And principle of least privilege, minimal access to complete the task. Do not give full authority for someone to complete the task. We have to give the minimum to minimum, so they can at least complete their task, and maker will not be a checker. So who is going to make something or make something happening, he should not be in the process of monitoring or doing. There should be somebody else who can keep an eyes on them. So that's what it is. Employment candidate screening, guys, this is very important actually. Let me tell you why it is important. As I was watching a Hollywood movie last week, so they hire a IT security personnel, and that guy, they hire him without any background check or anything. They don't know anything about him. So he put some viruses, backdoor in the company, and in a week he crashed the whole company, put it down. So later on they came to know that that guy has been fired from many organizations, and that guy is having some criminal records and many more things about him. So a guy like that, who he can trouble your business very well. So whenever you are hiring someone, objective is, we need some, first of all, most qualified candidate for an open job. What need to be done? Background verification. So first of all, we need to background verification. What comes in background verification? When, what, who. Okay, and how? BGC, NSR, we'll talk about it. Background verification of candidate including academics, so we need to check previous company reference check, education, colleague and neighbors and friendship. So let's start with here access verification here. Address verification, sorry, we need to verify his address. He has mentioned address on his resume, so we need to verify the address is correct. Okay, number 1, checklist. Number 2, employment history check. Sorry, he mentioned the he worked with the facebook.com or hcl.com or hp.com for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So don't hesitate to make call to the employment to check his history. Okay, employment will also help you with his backgrounds and as well as his work. Second is global database check somewhere he did something wrong or not, or check it on the internet through his email id or references. Check his facebook profile, or what kind of a guy he is. So his facebook profile will help you to understand better. So next thing is court record check. Make sure he should have some police clearance certificate, so he should not have any court records, any fraud or any hacking things he has done in the past. Second is you verify court record, you verify his criminal record, and after that you should look for drug use test. There should be a policy in the companies where you should be keep doing it on a regular basis for drug use test. So usually hardcore techie guys who keep want to keep them awake, so some of them may use the drugs and all, but that's not a good thing to go with. So drug test need to be done. Second is identity verification. Make sure his name and everything, house address mentioned on his ID card is same. And then education verification. You can write to the university for a transcript and make sure that guy is qualified from what he mentioned in his resume. So these are the employment candidate screening, and it is very important for organizations to hire someone especially for the field of IT, and these precautions can be taken for hiring for other department as well, because it is not only for IT, but some of you hire in other department and somehow he gain access to your server and hack or something he do. So next is agreement and policy. Whenever you hire someone, you have to sign a NDA, non-disclosure agreement, where two parties, you and the candidate, agree not to disclose information covered by the agreement. So that is the one. Outline rule, regulation, policy, restriction, and so on. So it is important, because if he leave his company, so he can tell everyone, or he can blog it, or he can post on social media that this organization abc.com, they are using this kind of server. So any information he is going to disclose, that will help the hacker to gain the access. Second is NCA, non-complete agreement. If two parties say that okay, I am not fit for the job, or you are not, or let's agree on something, that you want to cancel the documents or move away or something like that. But usually a non-complete agreement is very tough as comparison to the non-disclosure agreement, so it usually not happens. NCA is having more restriction rather than NDA. Employment termination process, guys. Here employment termination process is termination can be create situation in which employee could cause harm, putting the company at risk. That's why you need well designed exit interview process. If you fire someone in front of everyone, he may access his server quickly, crash the database, or make anything happen to you. So you should be well prepared for it. You should have someone who controlled it, so he cannot make harm. Termination should be private and respectful manner. You should not terminate him in front of everyone, so he should hold the grudges. He should hold the grudges and try to harm the organization. So whenever you terminating him, you should have at least a one witness to be there, so it to be proved that you have terminated that particular security engineer. All the equipment must be given back to the company. Okay, what are the equipments? Like, he is an employee, ex-employee, he used to have a keys, he used to have an access card for the doors, and he used to have an employee ID for the security guards to be move in. Similarly, he is having a smart card to access the door, company pager for texting, and company cell phone. So whatever he was entitled to get, you should collect everything back from him, and whatever his username and password is on the computer, that need to be disabled or deactivated immediately. Do not delete it, because there may be a data you need in the future, but whatever user accounts he was accessing, make sure that need to be locked immediately. And after that, what you have to consider, reminder for your non-disclosure agreement, term and condition. So show him that, talk to him about it, and here you are good to fire someone. Vendor consultant and contractor control, what is that? It happen between the client and the service provider. Vendor or consultant and contractor. So service level agreement is defined as an official commitment that prevail between a service provider and a client. So official agreement between service provider and a client. So there is a service provider who provide you services for example, I am managing for example, it's a company, small finance company, and there is a IT company with abc.com who gives support to us. So there should be agreement between client and the service provider that this is our data, this should be confidential, these are the engineers, you can keep sending them, and there should be a non-disclosure agreement or a service level agreement between two. So that need to be between a client and a provider. So client is the one who is getting the service and provider is the one who provide the service. Issue, what are the issues? System uptimes. System uptimes mean you are the client, so you want your client should be always connected to each other or the server 24/7. Maximum consecutive downtime, when you talk about provider that this system is not working, so how long they take to solve it or resolve the issues. Peak load, what is the load, what to what time. Average load, what is the load on the servers normally. Responsibility for diagnostic, who responsibility is to be, and failover time, like it should not be last more than that particular time. So those are the things client and the provider agrees in a service level agreement, and if they both are okay with it, they are good to go. Next is compliance. Compliance is following the rule, policy, regulation, standards or requirements. So it is important to follow the standards, strategies, policy, rules, controls, requirements, regulation, audit, risk, law, practices, everything to follow them, that is called as compliances. Okay. So let's start here with the first one. Here is a risk. Risk is what is risk? Risk is a chances of loss, possibly for unfortunate occurrence, like you are not expecting something but it happened. So unfortunate occurrence. Uncertain event, of course we don't want uncertain events, or something could happen to damage, destroy or disclosure is called as risk. So anything happen who disclose your companies in detail or your details or destroy it, that is a risk for you. So risk management is what? For first of all, what you have to is identify, analyze it, control it, transfer it, reduce it and access it. So these are the things about risk management. Possibly response to a risk. What are the possibly response to a risk? Number one is called risk mitigation. It is used to reducing the risk, or risk mitigation is implemented of safeguard and countermeasures to eliminate and block threat. Risk mitigation is this is your server, and you are going to install antivirus, you are going to update it, you are installing firewall, you are installing routers, you are making it secure for unauthorized access. So it is not that you are waiting something happen then only you start protecting it. So risk mitigation is minimize or reduce the risk, add more and more security device, hire an engineer, have more and more knowledge on the risk, so you can better protect it. Risk assignment, assigning risk or transferring risk is the replacement of the cost of a loss or risk represented into another entity or organization. Purchasing, insurance and outsourcing are the complete. Okay. So second thing is assignment. So what you can do is like it is similar like when we are traveling, when taking a flight we used to have an insurance. So anyhow the flight crash, our families, or if we got injured, we used to get paid by the insurance company. So we are making risk assignments with some companies. Usually it happen, not happen, that's another story, but hiring someone is the better, making outsourcing, hiring a service provider for it, that will be helping for that. Second is risk acceptance. It means the management has agreed to accept the consequences and loss if that risk is realized. Okay. So, risk acceptance mean if anything happens, so there should be someone who is accepting it, the management or IT manager or the service provider company. So, an organization decided to accept risk is based on its risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is the ability of the organization to absorb the losses. So, a manager is accepting that this crash happened because of him or something happened. So, he is aware of it, he is tolerating that he may get fired from the company, or a service provider say that your system are down and we are not capable of or our engineers are not capable of managing it, or their engineers somehow they make the fraud inside the client's company. So, they are tolerating risk. Tolerating risk mean whatever the loss it may happen in the client company, the provider is going to take care of it. He is going to pay the cost, or he is going to maintain the infrastructure. That is on the risk acceptance. A risk rejection is completely opposite to the acceptance. A final but unacceptable possible reason to risk to reject or ignore risk. Once countermeasures are implemented, risk that remain is known as residual risk. So, residual risk is control gap minus total risk. So, sometime rejecting and giving unnecessary excuses can be a risk rejections. So, risk treatment process is one side there is a risk, other side there is a reward. Risk treatment is risk acceptance, risk avoidance, risk mitigation and risk transfer. Treatmenting of risk is you can accept it that it happened because of you, but you should be aware of the consequences that get fired or get paid or you have to pay back. Or risk avoidance or mitigation is lowering the risk, use the better antivirus, better security devices, hire a good engineer. Or risk transfer, use a security company, hire them and they will take care of your security services. But risk accepted, the main goal to reduce the risk at the acceptance level, that is the one. Next is what are the risk assessment technology. So, there are qualitative risk analysis. It is not calculator based, it is scenario based this technology or methodologies. Start with the asset valuation and threat identification calculator based. So, they look for the value of your assets and finding the threats. Basically, it happened with the forensic investigation, or you can say penetration. So, assigning subjective and intangible value to the loss of an asset. Suppose you have a car here, okay, and you have paid the insurance company money to it, and when you paid the insurance fee, they make it a cost, for example, $5,000. So, they assess the value to your car. So, in any case you lost your car, that equivalent amount of money will paid to you by the insurance company. Or suppose it lost and then they are trying to make a cost of your vehicle, that the day you make the insurance it was 5,000, but after 11 months the cost is reduced to the 4,500. So, that will be also there. So, that is the technologies they use in that. Qualitative risk analysis methods are like brainstorming, Delphi technique, storyboarding, focus group, surveys, questionnaires, checklist, one-to-one meeting and interview. So, these are the method to analyze. Is a kind of investigation. Brainstorming is like talking to a group of people, getting to their ideas and understand about it. Delphi technique is the one. Storyboarding basically used by the CBIs or FBI in investigator, like okay, whose shift was that, who did what time, what they did actually, that comes in a storyboarding, connecting one to another, groups, surveys and many more. Initiate quantitative risk analysis method is the another one. Exposure factor, the EF factor represent percentage of loss. Single loss expectancy is needed to calculate the SLF. The single loss expectancy is the cost organized with the single realized risk against specific assets. It indicates exact amount of loss an organization would experience if an asset were harmed by a specific threat occurring. You know, SLE is like single loss is equal to asset value, what is the value of your assets multiplied by the exposure factor. So, an annualized rate of occurrence, the annualized rate of occurrence is equal to cost per year actually. Annualized loss expectancy is possibly yearly cost for all the instance for the specified realized threat against a specified asset. So, you guys can give a pause it the video and read it 2 or 3 times, it will help you to understand it more. Next is categories of security controls. What are the categories? Technical and logical control, the number 1. Number 2 is administrative control, and number 3 is the physical control. Technical controls mean it involves the hardware and software mechanism, an engineer basically. It is used to manage access and to provide protection for resource and system. For example, who is managing your Windows, the firewall, router, or IDS, IPS, authentication method, or encryption. So, whoever is managing, maintaining them, that goes under the category for technical or logical control. Administrative control goes where your management IT manager who decide the policies and procedure or by organization. Security policy and other regulations of requirement. For example, policies that user cannot change password, policies user must have a 24 character long password, procedure, hiring parties, background checks, everything can be done by the administrative, like they are hiring someone, making their background check, checking the parties, they are making agreement between different countries. So, that will go under the administrative. Third is physical control. They include physical mechanism deployed to prevent, monitor, or detect direct contact with the system on areas within a facility. So, physical access control are items you can physically touch. For example, include guards, fences, locks, doors, sealed windows, light, cable, protection badges, and swipe card. So, any physical control is very important part of a security. You know, if you install a CCTV camera for security, definitely he is not going anybody to stop to walk inside. He can simply monitor it or record it, but you want someone to stop it, make sure you should have a physical security like security guards or fences, electrical fences, locked doors, sealed window, tight cables, protection, badges, ID card, swipe card. So, those are the physical controls. So, what are the types of controls then? Deterrent. They are highly visible and discourage potential. Deterrent are example dogs, fences, security badges, guard, and cameras are the one. That type of controls are called as deterrent. Preventive is stop unwanted or unauthorized activity before occurring, like example include fences, locks, encryption, encrypting your computers, lightning, alarm, fire alarms, or anybody walking, those alarms, separation of duties, especially the shift is changing or assigning different duties, job rotational, security policies, security awareness, training, antivirus software, and firewall, etc. So, that is in the preventive. You are preventing, for that you have higher you are using those things, locks and firewall and policy and many more. Detective is the one generate alert and identify the fact or discover the activity after occurred. If any threat occurred, anybody walking inside, anybody break in physically or logically, he hacks your computers, what need to be done? Look for your video surveillance or camera, or if it is a computer, look for the audit logs. IDS motion, intrusion detection system is the one, look for it. If somebody walk in, he will alarm it. It is the IDS. If anybody walks in, he just check the motion detection. So, that is the one. So, there are types of control. Number one is here deterrent, very good. Second just is a preventive, and third one is when everything fails and anybody access it, your system, it goes to the detective mode to find out it. So again the types of controls here, the types of control, the next is here compensating. Compensating access control is deployed to provide various operations to other existing control to the aid in enforcement and support of security policies. They can be any control used in additions or to place in the organization. Let us take an example. An organization policy may be dictate that all PII must be encrypted. Okay. A review discovered that a preventive control is encrypting all PII data in database, but PII transfer over the network is sent is clear text. So it happened like compensating is you are discovering, finding out that two computers are communicating and your database are encrypted, but when you are sending it through over the network with one computer to another, so it is in the clear text. So then it comes here, then a compensative control can be added to protect the data in transit. So you can add a control, so whenever the data will transfer, it should be protected mode. Next is guys is corrective coupled with preventive and detective controls. Corrective control help mitigate damage once a risk is materialized. Okay. So if once the risk is materialized, it will help to control it for the next time. Without detection and without prevention, we can't correct. So if you can't detect anything and if you can't prevent anything, it's tough to. Okay. So example is AV, audio video backup and restores are the one, and the next one is recovery. Recovery controls are an extensive of control, but have more advanced or complex ability, including backup and restore, system imaging, antivirus. Or so there are backups. If you have backups, you can recover and restore it. System imaging is if you are using a system, you take a backup, it is called as system imaging backup. So system imaging backup is if you have taken backup at 10 a.m. in the morning of 2nd April 2018, and after 2 hours or 2 days your computer got crashed, you can get everything back exactly that particular date when you have taken the backup. Your data, your operating system file, program files, everything will be as it is in the backup. So also you can use the antivirus software for recovery plans. So the next and the last one is guys risk management framework. Number one is define critical sensitive of information system. Okay. So step one is here categorize information system. Second two is select baseline security control. So there is a program by Microsoft, MBSA, Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer, and there are many more. You can use them to find out risk assessment, that how secure your computer or server is. Third is implement security control within architecture environment, implement the control, implement the firewall, implement the CCTV camera, implement the guard, implement the IDS sensor, implement the IPS sensor. So whatever things you can implement, install antivirus, is use them, Windows update. Next is determine security control effectiveness, check them, determine they are effective or not. Determine risk to organizational operation and asset if acceptable authorized operation. So check the risk of the organization. If anybody break into it or try it or test it, make the value for your assets, make the value for your data, make the value of your company's assets, including computer, servers or applications you are using. Continuously track changes to the information system. So keep checking your monitoring system and keep updating it, keep checking new loopholes, flaws. So that's how risk management system work, and here we are end with the chapter number 2, that is in the domain 1. Thank you.